Hey everyone, it's Michelle Dawson, Nurse Deb from Halloween Ends. You are turning into Cineifier. You can follow me on Instagram at It's Michelle Dawson. Let's sit down by the fire and chat.
Why, hello, everybody. This is Eric Voronoff, host of the Cineifier podcast, where the horror lives and you survive. I'm here with my next special guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, Eric, thank you for having me on, man. This is just such a cool opportunity. So I appreciate you letting me hang out with you for a little while. My name is JD Hill. I also go by Ezekiel Kincaid. Ezekiel Kincaid is my pen name that I write all of my adult horror under. So nothing under the Ezekiel Kincaid brand is gateway horror or kid friendly at all. But I have my real name, JD Hill, which I write a lot of paranormal stuff under, write for some magazines, and also we'll be having some middle grade horror come out under that name.
Awesome.
And this is my cat, Penny Dreadful.
Hi there. but I guess that you could say your cat is pretty perfect.
Oh, she thinks she is, definitely.
So my first question, what exactly got you into the genre?
I fell in love with horror at the age of 6. And it came from watching a made-for-TV movie starring Kevin Bacon called The Demon Murder Case. And it was actually based on the same true case file of the Warrens that The Conjuring 3 was based off of. So I saw that at 6 years of age, and it terrified me. And I'll never forget that feeling of watching a movie and being scared, and that adrenaline rush and the thrill of it. And I was hooked at 6 years old. Went on and had movies like another TV movie, The Midnight Hour. Then The Gate was another one that I fell in love with at a young age, and it just sort of progressed to there. Got into reading a lot of horror comics, Stephen King, Clive Barker, William Peter Blatty, and it wasn't till about 2018 that I finally started to try to write horror fiction and get involved with being an author. And so I started in that and got into the writing community, started getting books and stories accepted for publication. And so here I am, what are we, 8 years later, still doing one of the things that I fell in love with at a young age. So it's very cool to see something that you start loving at a young age, and you're actually being able to follow in the footsteps of some of your heroes in the genre. So very, very appreciative of all the influence that came into my life to get me where I'm at.
Yeah, exactly. And and it's funny you mentioned Stephen King, because from what I heard, before he published a lot of his other books like Cujo and so on and so forth, that Carrie was his first book, and then he kept on getting rejected like numerous times by all these people like who he tried to get to publish it. And yeah, I mean, talk about a lot of resilience on his end, that knowing that he kept going. And yeah, and I mean, luckily that he kept at it, because, had he given up, we would have never had the Green Mile, Stand By Me, Cujo, The Dead Zone. I mean, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a rejection is part of the game, and there's so much more rejection than there is acceptance, and you can't take it personally, and you got to develop thick skin, and
you do, yeah.
Just keep going, don't give up, don't stop, just keep writing, keep submitting. There's just so many factors that play into having something accepted. It's writing the right thing at the right time and getting it with the right publisher. having the stars align. So there's a lot of key factors that go into it. You just can't quit.
Exactly. And it reminds me of a saying, the only time when you fail is when you stop putting in the effort.
Right. 100% true, man.
So yeah, I mean, so with all that said, so how exactly was it? So how exactly was your experience like writing your first horror book?
The first horror book that I wrote was called The Adventures of Johnny Walker Ranger, Demon Slayer.
Okay.
And it is about an alcoholic redneck in Mississippi who learns the secrets of killing demons. And he forms a demon killing team called the Bruce Campbells in order to
Nice.
save Oxford from a demon outbreak that he himself causes. So the first book for me, because I'm a huge Bruce Campbell fan, love
Yeah.
the Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, and so I wanted to kind of create something in that vein that showed the influence on it. And Johnny Walker Ranger does that. It's very over the top, like Evil Dead. It's very violent. Johnny is basically Ash Williams' personality on steroids. A lot more offensive, a lot more obnoxious. It's one of those books where you're going to read it and you're going to get super offended at things that he says, and then the next page later you're going to be dying laughing at things that he said. So my first experience writing a horror novel was fun. Like, I had a blast writing this character because he was so over the top, and he was so obnoxious. And there are things that I absolutely hate about Johnny and his personality and his character, and those things come into play. So a lot of times when you write a character and there's things that you don't like about him, you cringe as an author when you're writing these things. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm writing this right now, and this person doing this. So it was a fun experience. It was a learning experience, because up until this point in my life, all that I had ever written, because I have 2 theology degrees, 3 theology degrees, all that I'd ever written had been theological stuff, philosophy stuff, things on an academic scale. And so transitioning to fiction was a whole different ballgame. And so there were things I learned along the way. When the book got accepted by Stitch Smile for publication, the head publisher, Lisa, she took me under her wing and mentored me more in writing and teaching me more about the ins and outs of how to write good fiction. So it was a very positive experience overall. I met a lot of good people. I got mentored, had a lot of fun doing it, learned a lot, grew a lot in it as well. So it was a very positive first time experience.
Awesome. Well, I definitely am happy to hear that it was a positive experience for you. And yeah, I mean, having that mentorship, it definitely helps.
You did a whole lot, actually.
So yeah, so you mentioned that you got a degree in theology, and as far as I'm aware, uh, the the person who wrote The Exorcist, I think it was William Peter Blatty. But yeah, he actually was raised he actually like was raised Catholic. He actually was raised Catholic, and so I guess I'm just curious. Did you ever integrate anything that you learned from your theology degree into any of your books at all?
Oh, absolutely. Not so much in Johnny, because it's comedy. Or there are some little things that kind of just infiltrate itself in there because it has to do with demons and stuff like that. And he recognizes that he thinks he's called by God to kill these things. So there's a little religious spiritual aspect in it. But you see it the most in I have a 3-book series called the Dreadful Death series that is a folk horror, possession horror, Lovecraftian style, and it is about this religious family in the 1800s. The dad is a professor of ancient religions and religion there at Chapel Hill UNC, and he finds this old ancient text that he's translating. And as he's translating it, the entity in the text is pursuing his younger daughter. And so within that, you have questions of the problem of evil, right? This good family all of a sudden gets struck with evil, and they themselves are struggling with the character and nature of God in this. So the problem of evil comes in with that book in a big way. Also, the idea of how free are our wills, the idea of predestination and free will find their place in their struggle in that book as well. So I would say in that series, those are kind of the two main theological questions that maybe force their way into the story some.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, you know, as far as I could tell, that's what a lot of authors and script writers and a lot of filmmakers actually will do, is that a lot of the things from their personal life, they actually will integrate it um, into their art, such as when I had Victor Miller on the same podcast, who wrote the original Friday the 13th. I was just curious. I was like, so that name Jason, where did where'd you come up with that name? And then Victor said that, you know, that there was some guy like who picked on him, like who had that name. And you know, and it does make sense about how Victor like would feel intimidated like by that name Jason. So
yeah, that does. Makes a lot of sense.
oh yeah, so with all that said, were there anybody who ever picked on you, who and then you named any of the bad characters after?
There you will find in some of my short stories, you will find different struggles with emotional abuse, psychological abuse in a lot of my stories, narcissistic abuse in some of my stories, and that all comes from very personal experience. There's also struggle with addiction that comes out in some of my stuff that is all from personal experience. So those things that do shape you, they do find a way into your art, especially stuff like that that is, you know, extremely traumatic. Sometimes working it into the art is very cathartic for the creator and the author. And we also use it to tell a story, to bring awareness, or to help other people who may be struggling with some of those same issues. And I think the horror genre is such a perfect genre to deal with so many modern issues. It just
it is.
It lends itself. You know, I think honestly, I think horror is one of the most cathartic, one of the most spiritual, one of the most enlightening genres that you can do stuff with. And so all of that will works its way into my story. So yes, those people, those themes have indeed made it into my work as an artist.
Awesome. Yeah. And, you know, and I totally do agree with you. It's because that, you know, horror, I feel like is a genre like where it really forces you to confront mortality and yeah. And, you know, and then mortality is something that I feel like that everybody relates to. And then whatever people write down, whichever it was that they dealt with in their lives, you know, into their characters, and it then makes their characters a lot more relatable. So,
absolutely, agree 100%.
So yeah, so out of all genres, so sorry, out of all subgenres like of horror, there's zombies, slashers, vampires, and so on and so forth. Which one would you say was which one would you say is your favorite subgenre? And then with all that said, how did that favorite subgenre of yours integrate into any of your books at all?
I have several. Obviously, you've got the demonic and paranormal. That's a favorite of mine to trod through. I also like psychological horror,
Mm-hmm.
and I love body horror and creature horror.
Mm-hmm.
So those are probably the ones that speak to me the most. And my Johnny series and then my Dreadful Death series deal with the demonic and paranormal. I've got another book called the Tetramet Tapes. That's a found footage style that deals with occult. I've got another book called The Memoir of Darius Fisher. That is a werewolf transformation story. And then in my anthology of short stories, I've got some possession tales, some cult tales. I've got a psychological horrors that deal with trauma and trauma responses and addiction. I've got some creature horror that deal with cryptids and cosmic entities. I also have post-apocalyptic horror. I've got a science fiction horror that deals with the idea of if the soul is energy and that energy can be captured, what would happen if we developed the technology to actually capture people's souls and create an afterlife for them? What happens if the government gets in control of that? What would they do?
Mm-hmm.
So just a little bit of everything, but main things are demonic, paranormal, body horror, and psychological horror. Probably my favorite.
Right, yeah. And I mean, there's just something about body horror where like it makes you want to turn away, but at the same time, it also makes you want to keep it, but it also makes you want to keep your eyes, watching it, is because like you're just curious about what's going to happen next. And yeah, and I feel like that the best example of that, like, is definitely the Pillai. But yeah, so, like, like during that part where he's biting his fingernails, and then his fingernails come off, and
Yeah,
then very slowly he's turning more and more fly-like, and oh
yeah.
man,
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing is even if my stories aren't centered around body horror, you're gonna find body horror in it. Like it's going to be
mhm,
in there. There's going to be scenes that's going to incorporate it. In almost all of my stories, there's going to be you're gonna encounter some type of sick, gross body horror just because uh, that it just speaks to me on so many levels. For me, body horror is like a metaphor of evil. It's like you can see it in real time though, how it
mhm,
twists and distorts. It's like a living picture of what evil can do. So
mhm,
I think that's probably why it speaks to me so much.
right. Yeah, and part of what I think is the appeal to body horror is that knowing that every single one of us obviously has a body, and so therefore, whenever we see somebody else going through that body horror, it just makes you think, what if, what if that was me?
Uh-huh. Yeah, like just that fear of losing your fingernails or your teeth falling out or having uncontrollable things happen. I think it's the loss of control too.
Yeah, yeah,
That's scary. Loss
it
of
is.
control
Yeah,
over your own body.
it is. Yeah, and but yeah, and also even. But yeah, and even mixing subgenres also can be a good way to engage your audience. So yeah,
Very true.
yeah, like I actually argue that in a way, Halloween, which is ironic, is because we both have a Halloween poster. I argue that that kind of did mix some subgenres. Why? Like it mixed the subgenre of the supernatural, along with the slasher genre too. And I can't help but feeling that that's one of the reasons why the Halloween like helped us stand out. And yeah, and I mean, just knowing that it wasn't just a man who was coming after people, like knowing that he was pure evil in the shape of a human being, and no matter how many times you shot him or stabbed him, burned him, he was going to keep coming after you. So yeah, I mean, uh, funny about how I mentioned about Stephen King being pretty resilient, but Michael Myers, he's a now talk about resilient, boy.
Yeah, 100%, man. Absolutely. But yeah, it is. It's one of the. It's like the granddaddy of supernatural slashers.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And now,
100%.
yeah. Now, granted, well, technically, it may not have been the first slasher because before there was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there was Black Christmas, Psycho. So yeah. But I kind of argue. I mean, Psycho did have a final girl. So I argue that while Halloween definitely made it a lot more mainstream, but I argue that it wasn't the first to use that formula, though.
Yeah. Was it the first to use the supernatural aspect though?
I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so it's got that originality to it was never seen before. The supernatural aspect of a slasher who just can't be stopped, who keeps coming back over and over again.
hmm Yeah, and a really funny story about that mask. So since it was a low budget movie, they couldn't afford to just make a custom made mask. So what happened was that Tommy Lee Wallace, who I believe was the editor or production designer for the original Halloween, he went to a store and bought a $2 William Shatner Captain Kirk mask, and then he painted it white, opened up the eye holes, and tore off the eyebrows and sideburns, and yeah, and I've always wondered, how does William Shatner feel about that? So I guess he just has a really scary face.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when you paint it white and take out the eyes a little more, huh?
Yeah, and there's just something about seeing that mask in just in the dark. It just sends chills down your spine whenever you see that in the dark. And I mean, even though I am a Jason fan too, but if I were to be honest, I think Michael Myers is a little bit scarier because I just feel like that his mask, there's just something human about it,
Yeah.
but it's also not human. And just seeing that in pitch darkness, I mean, yeah, seeing Jason's hockey mask in that kind of situation would be scary too, but not as scary as Michael Myers, though.
I agree. I would say out of all of the slasher icons, he is my favorite, all time favorite. I actually have the mask sitting up there on the very top of my shelf. Kind of stares out over me on my bed every night. So I know it feels like having that creepy thing stare at you in the dark. So
Yeah,
I can
which is
resonate and relate to that.
yeah, which is really funny that you say that because whenever I have people come over, whenever they see my signed Art the Clown mask and my signed Creature from the Black Lagoon mask and all of these other masks I have in my apartment, I've had, well, not apartment now, trailer. People have said, Eric, how can you sleep at night like with those things looking right at you?
Oh, it's a weird type of comfort, man. Like, I think only horror fans understand that.
Yeah,
It's a
but
weird type of comfort.
but yeah, I have a feeling that probably people who came over to your house probably have said the same thing.
Mhm. Yeah, because I have an Art the Clown mask. I've got Jigsaw mask. I have the Jason hockey mask, and I've got the Hellraiser box right here.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. So I think my room's like you. I got all these horror action figures and dolls, and I've got a Cornhusk voodoo doll. I've got a Rougarou voodoo doll everywhere. So it's like a little mini horror museum walking in here. So kind of like what
Nice.
you got. So
So
yeah,
yeah,
thank you.
so that reminds me. Going back to Halloween, John Carpenter said that Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, like, was one of the things that inspired him to make Halloween. Although Halloween and Psycho, they're kind of similar in some ways, but at the same time, Halloween definitely is its own thing. So,
Mhm.
would you say that? Did you ever take any inspiration yourself from any of the horror movies you have seen into your horror books?
Yeah. I know Evil. I mentioned Evil Dead. You'll see inspirations of that. You'll see The Exorcist. You'll see Saw. You'll get hints of Blair Witch, Midsummer, Hereditary, The Void. Um, see what else. Those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's some other ones, but
Right.
standing out to me right now
Okay.
are
So
those.
yeah. So with all that said, if anybody ever turned any of your books into a movie, which horror director would you want to helm uh, each? Um,
Uh,
so
yeah.
each project.
So for my Dreadful Death folk horror series, I think I would want Robert Eggers or Ari Aster to have one of those, to get a hold of one of those. Um, and then for my Johnny one, Sam Raimi would know what he is doing with that type
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
genre for sure. So those would be two that I would love to see. We all have our dreams, but those directors, especially uh, Robert Eggers or Ari Aster on some of my folk horror stuff, like you know, they would do a killer job on that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, and especially after seeing what Robert, sorry, uh, is it Robert or Roger?
Robert
Yeah,
Eggers,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, especially seeing, I mean, with that Nosferatu remake that he made back in 2024,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of people weren't too crazy about the mustache, but I mean, other than that, though, I mean, it definitely was very well received, and so yeah, and I mean, I definitely would love to see as to what he would have to bring to the table. So
Yeah, and especially with that Dreadful Death series being a historical piece in the 1800s, like he would nail the feel of it,
oh
100%
yeah,
nail the feel of it. So that
definitely,
would be
yeah.
my dream director for that one.
Yeah, well, hey, and I mean, goes back to what I show. You only fail when you stop trying. And hey, I mean, if you truly do believe that he is the one to helm it, I mean, to that I say, go for it.
I need to learn how to write scripts. That's the other thing. I need to learn how to write movie scripts. I haven't graduated to that yet.
All right. I do know a lot of horror authors like who actually have adapted their own, books into scripts. But yeah, and I mean, I am pretty sure that it's something that you could either do your own research on, or you probably would have to go to college for that. So
Yeah, yeah. I get there right now. I think I got my hands full with just keeping up with the books, man.
that's fair.
Uh,
Yeah,
Finding time to do that, so that keeps
that
me
is fair. Yeah.
busy.
So with all that said about horror directors, who are some horror actors that you would want to see to do it? So,
Oh man. You know, I have thought and thought for years about who I would want to see play Johnny, and I can't pick anybody. Johnny's got red hair,
okay.
and I don't know. I have no idea who I would want to see in that role. I do know if some of my stories, if I've got some stalkers or killers and things like that, I would love to see the dude. I'm not a fan of the movie, but in a violent nature,
Okay.
the guy who plays the killer in that. Not a fan of the movie, but I'm a fan of the way he carries out that character. The stalking, the how methodical he is, the movements and everything. I love whoever is in that role. I've looked up his name. I can't remember who it is, but
Right.
I would take him in a movie playing a killer, one of my killers, for sure. I thought he did a great job in that role. That is one I've thought about.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, and I mean, I don't see. Well, I mean, I don't see why not. But yeah, I was gonna say, if not that, maybe it could be like some. Maybe it could be like some unknown actors. So.
Yeah. I would be
So
good
yeah.
whoever, as long as they can just nail the role. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm good.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd just be happy to have my book turned into a movie, man.
Yeah. And I mean, I just feel like that for any author, I just feel like that would be such a huge honor.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, just knowing that, like on that screen, how like it'll say adapted from book by so and so author.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, knowing that it definitely can help for a lot more people, and then to be aware of said book. So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, like if I'm gonna be honest, uh, the only reason why that I knew that Jurassic Park was a book, well, like was because I saw the Jurassic Park movie, and I kind of feel like that a lot of other people probably have said the same thing. And then and then that inspired me to and then go check out the Jurassic Park book. It's vastly different from the actual movie. I mean, it's way more violent and
Yeah.
yeah, vastly different.
Yeah, I remember seeing Jurassic Park when it first came out and then finding out it was a book. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to read this book. And so I went and got a copy of it and read it. And I was like, oh, this is not what the movie was like. I like that. I mean, of course, the book's always better. I love the book, man. Gosh.
Yeah, like especially with the death of Dennis Nedry in the book, there's that part where it talks about how he's holding his intestines after being attacked by the Dilophosaurus. I'm like, oh, that's brutal. That is so
Yeah.
brutal.
I'm like, why didn't they put that in the movie?
Well, they would have lost their PG-13 ratings.
I know.
But I mean, I guess if they ever wanted to readapt it for like Peacock or something, I mean, that they would have to get new actors, which will be weird to see someone else playing Dr. Grant, so on and so forth. I guess they could do that. But yeah, uh, for the most part, yes, the book is better than the movie. But the one exception I say, ironic going back to Spielberg, is Jaws, because Jaws 2 also was based off of the book. And yeah, the characters in the Jaws book are very unlikable.
Yes.
And the ending of the Jaws book is like it's not as impactful as in the movie. So I argue that Jaws is a rare exception where the movie actually is a lot better. So
100% agree with you. 100%. I hated the book. Was not a fan of it.
yeah, I mean, after reading the book myself, well, since I have ADHD, I had to use an audiobook. But yeah, I can see why the filmmakers chose to make serious changes to the Jaws movie because, Spielberg himself even said, yeah, after reading the book, I actually wanted the shark to actually win. So
Yeah, right. You're rooting for Jaws.
exactly. And that's not a good sign.
No, not at all. Yeah, I would agree with you. The characters in the book, and the thing is I obviously saw the movie first before I went back and read the book, and
Right.
it was one of those jarring experiences where you're like, this was worse than the movie, and these characters, what I saw on screen was totally not this at all.
Yeah, definitely. And so with all that said, I mean, there are some authors such as Stephen King, who had, when The Shining was made, there were some pretty big changes, like from the
Mhm.
book, and even going back to Jaws, some big changes in Jurassic Park. Um, if anybody made any significant changes from your books into a movie, where exactly would you draw the middle? Like, where exactly would you draw that middle ground? And would you ever be okay with any filmmaker making pretty big changes?
um if they made a big change and I understood and agreed with the explanation of that they think this would work better in film, um, I think I would be okay with it. But if it gets to the point to where you're botching the story and there's only remnants left of your original idea, I could handle like one huge major change if they had a good explanation for it and a reason for it, and saying this, like I said, this would work better on film for the audience and stuff like that. Like I could buy into that, but you get more than one or two of those, and then I think you really start to deteriorate the original idea. Maybe the original flow, maybe the original character concept, maybe the original plot line. And the fact of the matter is, though, is some things work better on film than they do in a book.
Mm-hmm, right.
Some things in books don't portray or transfer well over on on screen, and so I think you're knowing that if that ever happens, you're always in the back of your mind. You're prepared to say, okay, there are probably going to be some changes, but as long as it's something that doesn't totally bastardize the book and the storyline, then you know I think I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, and I mean, we also have to understand like that books and movies, while both are forms of entertainment, they are different mediums. Like
Mhm.
with a book, you can have it be as long as you want, as detailed as you want, but with film, it's more so you have to get to the point. So yeah, so sometimes with adapting a book to a movie, you have to make changes, not only because of that, but other cultural reasons, like such as when Stephen King wrote It.
Yeah,
There's this infamous scene in the It book with all the kids, and I think everyone else can fill in the
yeah,
blanks about that. There is no way they ever could get away with filming that.
mm-mm,
Yeah, legally, there's no way.
no,
So I can understand why that they would have to, exclude that from all of the film versions that we've seen. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think with Johnny, they would probably have to tone him down. Um, I think it would be too much. Maybe not for an indie movie, but mainstream, it would be too much. He would be too much. They would have to censor him.
yeah, and I mean, heck, I mean, going back to Psycho, I mean, that is that is what happened with Psycho because Norman Bates in the book was overweight and all that, but then I forget the scriptwriter's name, but yeah, but he said that he wanted Norman to be more sympathetic, and then he felt like that, making changes to Norman would have, helped him to be more sympathetic. And well, since Psycho was a major hit, I think that he made the right call. So
Yeah. See, when I read the book Psycho, I almost kind of got this feel of Norman Bates. Like he almost reminded me of a little bit of the guy from Maniac, the movie Maniac. Kind of
right.
little nasty, little sloppy, kind of grungy type of feel, a little bit. So
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's possible that maybe perhaps when the Maniac movie got made, I mean, knowing that it came out like 20 years after Psycho, it's possible that that's where they got their inspiration from.
that would be something to look into.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I can't say for certain, but yeah, but say if anybody ever makes any of your books into a movie, I hope that they won't do what happened with Psycho when it's a beat for beat, shot for shot, exactly the same movie. It's like, then what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's a textbook example about how to not do a remake.
Right. Right. I remember going to the theater and seeing the remake and just leaving so deflated and angry at the same time.
I can see why.
I was
Yeah,
not a fan.
yeah, and a lot of people have criticized Vince Vaughn being Norman Bates, and I will admit that's an odd choice. And when people say he was miscast, I think I can see why.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I've watched that since I saw it in the theater.
Well, there's really no reason for you to ever go back and rewatch it now.
Yeah. Yeah. Good to know. I didn't miss anything. I haven't
Yeah,
missed anything all these years.
yeah, because at that point, you might as well should just go back and rewatch the original movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love the original. I've got a couple copies of it. I've got all the sequels. So
So, I guess, in your own opinion, out of all the Psycho sequels, which one would you say was the best one?
I love two. I love two, followed by three.
Okay. And I could take it that you're not a fan of Psycho 4.
I enjoy it. I watch it when I watch the Psycho movies. I still throw four in there and watch it.
Okay.
So it's not one of those ones that I'm like, I hate this movie. I'm gonna skip it. But I'm not that type of person anyway, though. Like when I every year when I watch the Halloween movies, I watch every single one of them, even the ones that I don't like. I'll still watch it and find something out of there I enjoy. Same
Right.
thing with Nightmare on Elm Street ones. I still watch Freddy's Dead. And the Friday the 13th, I'll still watch all of those. So I'm not usually one to skip when I'm going through a franchise.
Fair.
But with that said, I do enjoy actually watching all the Psycho movies, especially one after another in like a setting. I did actually, I just finished doing that this past weekend.
Oh, well, just by a huge coincidence.
Yeah, I ended up because I watched the first one again. I watched it at Halloween, and then I watched it again a couple weeks ago. So I sat down this weekend and watched 2, 3, and 4.
Nice. And yeah, and I mean, I could definitely see why a lot of people say Psycho 2 is while it doesn't beat the original, but I mean, it definitely comes close. And I mean, Psycho 2 definitely was a really good sequel. I mean, especially considering that it came out over 20 years later. Alfred Hitchcock didn't come back.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy who they got to direct it, though, I mean, he did know Alfred Hitchcock and all that. And I believe that he worked with him. And so, and therefore, he definitely understood, he definitely did understand him. So yeah, so I feel like that helped. And yeah, Cycle 4, I mean, it definitely helps that it has some of that iconic music because I do feel like that helps to make it feel more close to the original movie. But yeah, but then afterwards, we never got Cycle 5 because, Perkins unfortunately passed away.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, There was that Bates Motel TV movie back in the 80s, but not really anybody ever saw that. And that's a little bit more obscure. And then, and then there was that more recent TV show, which had Freddie Highmore. And a lot of people have comments saying, wow, talk about, a complete 180 for him. I like to go from Charlie and Chocolate in the Factory being all sweet and innocent to it being Norman Bates.
Norman Bates, yeah. Yeah, it's funny you bring up the Bates Motel from years and years ago, man. I've got a copy of that somewhere. It's been a while since I've watched it. I may have to pull it back out.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while ever since I've seen it too. But yeah, I mean, the only way how you can watch it now is with a 4-pack of Psycho 2, 3, and 4, and that. But yeah, so yeah, so I mean, hey, I mean, it is a way to watch it, and but yeah, I mean, I guess it just wasn't popular enough to be put on Tubi or anything. So
watch it pop up there, man. I feel like every time I talk about a movie, like, man, I wish they'd put that on Tubi. Like a few months later, it pops up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have bought this. Here it is. I paid $30 for this because it was rare, and now here it is on Tubi.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, now they said that, you just might have finally predicted for that Bates Motel TV movie to finally go on Tubi.
I hope the Tubi gods are listening to me. Put it on there.
Would be pretty awesome. Yeah. That would be pretty awesome. And yeah, and I mean Tubi definitely is a really good place for people to go find horror content because yeah, you're just scrolling. Yeah, there's endless amounts. I mean, honestly, when I first saw Terrifier, that's where I first saw it on. I first saw Terrifier on Tubi back in like 2022, 2021 around there, and yeah, and then and then that's where I saw a lot of other popular horror films on there. So yeah.
Okay. Now I got a story about the first All Hallows Eve.
Okay.
So I came across that film. This is I live in Baton Rouge, and it was the last remaining video store open in like 2016, and it was called Night Owl Video. And I found it just by an internet search because like I was wondering if there were any more video stores. So I find it, I go in there, and of course there's nobody in there. It's just the owner. And I go in there, and he's got this huge horror section. VHS tapes that you can rent. It's like in the plastic original packages that you can open up and hear that clicking sound and everything like that. So I'm just in awe, man. And so I'm going through there, picking out some VHS tapes, and I see this movie called All Hallows Eve with this creepy clown on it. And I'm like, oh man, this looks cool. I'm gonna check this out. So I go home and watch it, and I fell in love with Art the Clown then. And I remember telling everybody I knew who loved horror about this. Like, you've got to watch this movie, All Hallows Eve. You've got to check it out. The clown, Art the Clown, is like one of the creepiest clowns I have ever seen. And I was like, it was based off this movie that this guy made, this short film called Terrifier. And then when I found out Damien Leone was making like a real Terrifier movie, I thought I was going to lose my mind. I was beside myself. I was like, oh my gosh. And I've been in love with Art the Clown since I first saw him for the first time in 2016. And I've got all the Terrifier movies and a Art the Clown poster. So he is by far one of my favorites.
Yeah. And I can see why, especially with his new design that he had in Terrifier movie where he had more of that witch nose and they changed his teeth. He looked even scarier.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Yeah, and then and then from All Hallows Eve into Terrifier, they actually recast Art the Clown, and most people would be upset about that. But I think for Terrifier, David Howard Thornton actually did a much better job than the original person, because the original person, from what I heard, he wasn't really an actor. He was just somebody like who Damien Leone knew,
Yeah.
and then yeah, then the original guy just said, well, I'm just not really much of an actor, and I don't like the makeup process. And then then somebody once said the original guy was just a guy dressed as a clown, but David Howard Thornton actually is one.
I heard that too. Yeah. No, I love David Howard Thornton in that role. I thought he's done a phenomenal job with it. I've loved him in all the movies. I loved him as the mean one as well. That was a fun movie.
Oh, it was, yeah, and and I'm not surprised about that because of this craze about turning childhood characters into horror icons. There's a misconception going around about how Dr. Seuss's characters are in the public domain. So they're actually not. So the way how they got away with that was under parody law, and that's actually how Weird Al gets away with doing all these copyrighted songs and then doing parodies of them is under that parody law. Yeah. But it's just that for the mean one, they just couldn't call him Grinch, and that's why they called him the mean one instead. And yeah, David Howard Thornton really was the perfect choice to play the horror version of the Grinch. And yeah, and out of all Dr. Seuss characters, it makes sense that would be the one that they would turn into a horror film.
100%. Agreed.
So yeah. With all that said, what are your thoughts on all of these other childhood characters being turned into horror films?
I've watched a lot of them. I watched a good bit of them. My favorite ones, I like The Ugly Stepsister. And I enjoyed the recent Peter Pan one, the Neverland Nightmare, I think it was called.
Yeah.
That one was fun. So those have been my favorite ones so far. The Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and then the Popeye one, and God, I can't remember what other ones I've watched, but hit and miss for me. But the Peter Pan one, that one was fun. I enjoyed that.
Oh, it was, yeah. Especially seeing what they did to Captain Hook. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's Captain Hook.
Yeah. Yes.
Man. Ooh, and Peter Pan, that is a story that does make sense to turn that into a horror film. So.
Oh yeah, the elements are there. The elements are there. Definitely. You can totally run with it, and they did.
Definitely a lot more so than Winnie the Pooh, because there's really, they definitely had to get more creative with. They definitely had to get a lot more creative with that one. So.
Yeah. I think I like the first Winnie the Pooh one better than the second one.
Okay, and of course, I totally do understand that that's your opinion. It's just a lot of people I've met actually will say that they find the second one better than the first one. So,
yeah, I think maybe for me, I was just kind of done with it after that, so it just kind of felt obnoxious, maybe. At that point, like I said, not a big fan of that one. And I did not like the Popeye one.
Well, as far as Popeye goes, there's actually more than one Popeye one. There's Shirley Timbers, Popeye's Revenge, and there's Popeye the Slayer Man. So I guess I'm just curious, which Popeye one are you talking about?
I think I am talking about Popeye's Revenge.
I've seen Popeye's Revenge, and I can see why you would say that, because it just kind of dragged, and I just really couldn't get into Popeye's Revenge, if I'm going to be honest.
Are the other ones any better?
Shiver Me Timbers, that one takes itself a lot less seriously. And
Okay.
so yeah, that one's a little bit more fun. I mean, it's definitely more Evil Dead-esque,
Okay.
where yeah, like where it embraces how absurd it is. The other one, Popeye the Slayer Man. Now, out of all of its titles, I think that that one has the best title, if I'm going to be brutally honest. But yeah, that one looked the most like Popeye, and it definitely took more advantage of the Popeye lore.
Okay.
So I guess it depends. You know, if you want more serious, go for Popeye the Slayer Man. But if you want more absurd and all that, go with you definitely should go with Shiver Me Timbers. So
I'll try Shiver Me Timbers.
okay,
I'll give that one a go.
all right, cool, and yeah, and I actually had the filmmakers on from Shiver Me Timbers, you know, on to this podcast, and yeah, and I mean, they all definitely seem like very very nice people, and yeah, and they actually currently are doing Shiver Me Timbers 2, where it's going to take place in New York, and they're going to have Betty Boop, since that Betty Boop just went public domain, and Tarzan's also going to be a part of it too. So
Okay. Well, then I gotta watch the first one. If they're
definitely,
coming out with a sequel, I gotta watch the first one.
I mean, Popeye's Revenge also is coming out with a sequel too, and yeah, and then this actor who I know, Jack Hyde, you know, down in the UK. Shout out to Jack Hyde. He actually is going to be in the Popeye's Revenge sequel. So I hope all of the mistakes they made with Popeye's Revenge is going to be improved upon for that sequel too.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Very cool.
So with all that said, about to wrap this up. Where can my audience expect to go purchase your horror books at?
You can find them on Amazon,
Okay.
and you can find them on Godless. Godless is a publisher of indie horror. There's all kinds of different publishers that are on Godless, different horror authors. You can find a ton of stuff there. It's all ebooks. So if you want ebook copies of some of my stuff, it's on there. And then I've got a ton of short stories on there is as well. So Godless or Amazon, either one.
Cool. Awesome. But yeah, but yeah, I definitely will leave a link for people to go purchase your books. And yeah, but yeah, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. And yeah, and we definitely will keep in touch.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on. It was a blast.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, you all have a fantastic day.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. Stay scared and stay cinefied.